Let's go ahead and get started. A really special guest. I know I say that every week, but this week is extra special because this is my very good friend, Vinci Sevilla. We met at a random meetup. We call ourselves the Barn Boys because we met up at a random real estate meetup in Riverside, California 5 years ago when I thought it was hot stuff back then. I had some stuff, but realized I really wasn't and didn't have anything and didn't know much. But we've grown together. And I think that's the power of networking. You never really know who you're going to meet. So get out there and meet someone because how often do we talk, man? Probably at least minimum once a month, right?
Minimum once a month, if not
Minimum.
like every other week.
Yeah, every other week. And to be honest with you guys, we could probably be on the phone like an hour or two just talking business. Get out there and meet someone. You never know who you're going to meet and find someone with the same interest and you'll be surprised how far you go. Vinci, thanks for coming on, man.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me, dude. And yeah, guys, Alex has been, man, he's the beast, as you guys know. And I just love being able to work with Alex. Alex is one of the ones that introduced me to the like Smokies market. And that kind of just took off from there back in 2021. But on that fateful day where we met years ago, we had no idea that we'd be working together and partnering up together and doing all this really cool stuff. So yeah, man, this is, like he said, go out there and network, guys. That is key.
Why don't you give people a little bit of background, like what you did before? I know you famously paid down your wife's student loans in like, I don't know, a few months or something like that. Give people a little insight on who you are.
So don't mind my ugly face here, but this talks about my first 6 months into my short-term rental journey. I also go over a little bit about who I am on here. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to go from there. All right. So a little bit about me. First of all, I'm a big fan of the show The Office. Okay. So at the top here, I have a quote here. It says, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take," by Wayne Grip and Michael Scott. For those who are watching The Office, you guys probably know what that quote entails. So my wife and I, we currently hold about 35 million assets under management in our portfolio, which consists of long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and multifamily. I'm based out here in Southern California, have an engineering and business management background, founder and CEO of Getaway House, or Haus in German, which is our national portfolio that specializes in top-tier short-term rentals. We're currently in 7 states and expanding. Co-founder of Invest Capital, myself and 3 other friends, we met through social media. We met online. Sounds weird, but like we met online really on social media. We connected so much, we decided to form Invest Capital together to take on large commercial properties. And our first commercial property was a multifamily, a 111 unit, A- class over in Mesquite, Texas, near Dallas. And that was our first commercial property. My partners and I, we had dabbled in long-term rentals, short-term rentals, month-term rentals, and others. But I think just like with a lot of people, getting into commercial properties was like a bucket list, right? And I'm really glad I connected with them. We're currently actually under contract on a assisted living facility in Fresno, California. So that is the current project that we're undertaking. This is a picture here of the multifamily here. A little bit more about myself. I'm a big promoter for STEM. For those who know what STEM is, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, especially to young minority students in underprivileged areas, which is like how I started as well. I have a passion for educating those in personal finance. I love to share my knowledge in real estate. And I'm also active in establishing local real estate meetups, host my own local real estate meetups in my area. So if you're ever in Riverside, or I think I'm about to say once a month, we hold a Saturday morning meetup, call it Coffee and Cash Flow. You get another good looking guy right here in the picture, as you can see. So that's a little bit about me and my background here. So I have this slide here because I like to talk about my why. And my why is my family. And this is my wife and my 2 kids here. Sereni is 2 years old and Kaizen was born 6 months ago. We've got one of each. It's a little crazy right now in the house. Kaizen is going through his like 6-month regression for those who have kids. And it is something right now. So I haven't had much sleep. After this, I'm going to take a nap. A little bit about my why is this short-term rental stuff, guys. It's not easy, right? Real estate in general, when you're trying to start this whole business, it's not easy. So understanding what your driver is, and this is my why for family, our health, financial independence, community, and legacy, which I think a lot of you probably say the same. I pivoted to short-term rentals. I actually built a long-term rental portfolio in Chicago. And when I first started, I've sold half of it now for more short-term rentals, still keeping the other half for long-term passive income. But yeah, so I pivoted to short-term rentals, one more cash flow, tax benefits, appreciation, no buy down, vacation home to enjoy. I'm preaching to the choir here, right? Moved away from long-term rentals because of that. But I talked about the pros, I'm talking about the cons. It's not for everybody. Requires more work up front, day-to-day operations involved. However, you can automate the majority of your business. A lot of the things that I personally, my own strengths lie in the following, like deal analysis, partnerships, co-hosting, tech stack, automating your business. Co-hosting is what we're here to talk about. So as part of co-hosting, you're going to be familiar. There's a lot of tech stacks that involve co-hosting, just like with managing your own short-term rentals. So some of this stuff may look familiar to you guys, others may not, but as you guys go along, this will all be pretty familiar. Here's a analysis of my first short-term rental. First one bought in the Smokies, cash return, greater than that. And then going from there, we ended up achieving a 34% on my first underwriting here. In reality, we tripled that. But this is about my first 6 months. This was our first one here in the Smoky Mountains. Second one I got was in Joshua Tree. And then my third one here in December 2021 was my first co-hosting client. So during this time, I was just posting on social media about what I was doing. But anyway, Big Bear was our first co-hosting client. And again, this was me from just doing what I was doing, showing on social media that like, hey, I was trying out this Airbnb stuff. And then someone reached out to me and they said, hey, they've just bought this property in Big Bear, tiny cabin, 400 square feet, but they want to put it on Airbnb, but they don't know how to do it and they don't have the time to manage it. So I said, why don't I help? And so I stumbled into co-hosting without realizing what co-hosting was, right? And I thought this was more like a partnership. I'll manage it for a certain percentage. So that's like how we ended up getting started. Here's a couple numbers of my first 6 months into the whole short-term rental business, showing my gross revenue, expenses and whatnot, and total profit. If you add all this up, in the first 6 months, we grossed 131,000. We had a net profit of 57,000, and we have an average profit of about 9,500 a month. So my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, this is a salary already every month. Net profit, 9,500. That's almost 10K a month. And so we looked at each other and we're like, we got to keep going.
I remember that phone call.
And you were for that phone.
You were like, I can't believe this can't be true.
Yeah, this can't be true. That was crazy. I called you like after we went live our first month. I think I called Alex and I was like, dude, this can't be real. We just grossed 12,688 our first month. And he's, wait till you see July. And in July, we did 17,000. And we were just like, okay, yeah, we definitely need to keep doing this. So anyway, co-hosting. So let's get into co-hosting a little bit. So a reason why co-hosting was, first of all, came about was a lot of people own really amazing homes like this, right? I'm showing you my pictures there. And these are my clients' properties. And however, there are a lot of owners who either don't have the time to manage and or don't have the skill. So somebody comes in, a co-host comes in to go ahead and help manage these short-term rental vacation properties for a fee, whatever that fee may be for that person. So as a co-host, there are two primary things that we serve. One, we save our clients time, right? Time is their most valuable asset. And that is something that you want to make sure you portray to your client. Secondly, we showcase to them that we can make more money than they can. Okay. So what that means is utilizing the same things that Alex is teaching you here, utilizing your revenue management, marketing, your operations is absolutely key to co-hosting. And so showing them what you can do and showing them that you can generate more revenue is an easy win for any co-host, really. So that's really something that you want to showcase to these clients is ensuring that they see the benefits from their point of view. And that's how you get clients, and that's how you influence these owners to make you a co-host, right? Now, short-term rental industry, there's a lot of things that you can do in this industry. Like in the real estate space, we've already gone down to niche short-term rentals or mid-term rentals, right? But even further than that, there's so many little things that you can do within it as well, right? So I do believe that within the short-term rental industry, co-hosting is one of the best ways to enter it, especially with little to no money down and very little, okay? Why co-hosting? So there are over, I would say, 2 million Airbnb listings in the world, okay? And there's a lot of properties up for grabs to be optimized, that need to be optimized. And with the skills that Alex and these courses teach you, you can fully take advantage of that. Okay. Now, recently, a lot of investors bought short-term rentals in the past couple of years, especially during 2020, 2022, like Alex and myself. Okay. And a lot of them realize it's a lot harder than they thought. And some of the years can be known as outliers, if you'd like to call it that, for the pandemic. But a lot of these people thought that they get what I call shiny object syndrome. They see a shiny thing and they say, hey, why don't we just go ahead and get an Airbnb and make hella money off of it? But that's not the case, right? You have to treat it like a business, right? And just like any business, you have to understand the process and the system that it takes to really generate revenue. And a couple things here, why co-hosting? Feds have continued to raise rates, which will make homes less affordable and decrease demand. New construction is down in a lot of markets. Homeowners want to stay locked in on the low mortgage rates, so supply will also remain scarce. So when inventory low and numbers are dwindling, co-hosting is an easy win. So what do I mean by all of that? It means that even during this time where, and I know just recently rates are starting to come down for a lot of these primary homeowners, but for a lot of investment loans, rates are still pretty high, like 7 to 7.5%. This time, there's a lot of opportunities for people like us to come in and co-host for other owners, and that's an amazing way to get into scaling your property in your portfolio. One thing I do mention down here is the hardest co-hosting deal will always be your first, and that can be applied to really any part of investing. Your first long-term rental, your first mid-term rental, your first real estate investment property will always be your hardest. All right, let me pause right here. Any questions so far?
Let's break it down because I know some people, it's probably the first time they ever heard of co-hosting. So what's the difference between a property manager and a co-host?
Okay, so I would say the biggest difference for short-term rentals between a property manager and a co-host would be the property manager or property management company would typically be collecting all of the money themselves and dispersing that over to its owners or client. So a co-host, typically in this scenario here, all of the revenue would first go to the owner, and the co-host would go ahead and invoice the client or owner for their percentage for the following month. So that is one aspect of the finance of a difference between a property manager and a co-host. Some states require property managers to have broker's license and a structure like that within the state that they are managing properties in. I do believe that, especially in California here, for example, in order for you to manage a property or a short-term rental and be a property manager, you are required to have that. As a co-host, though, there's ways around that, right? As a co-host, right? One, you're not collecting the fee, you're not collecting the actual payment itself. Secondly, you're invoicing them the following month for your percentage. And that makes a big difference for a lot of these clients. A lot of it has to do with financing, really, but I would start from there.
So let's say, for example, I own a property and I'm just sick and tired of doing it. And I'm going to say, hey, Corey, I'm just going to pay you 20% fee or whatever it is, 15% fee. It could be negotiated. And they're taking care of all of the guest communication. If they have issues with a cleaner, if they have issues with the handyman, you're taking care of all of that. Am I correct?
That's right. That's right.
So you're pretty much doing a lot of what a property manager is doing at this point.
That's right. A lot of co-hosts have specific tiers as well, Alex. I would say based off of their pricing structure, some co-hosts do a tiered approach for that. For example, tier 1 will include, we handle all guest communication, and that would be 15% of the revenue, right? Tier 2 would be, we'll do all the guest communication. We'll also handle the cleaners and the maintenance and coordinate all that. And for that, tier 2 would be let's say 18% off of the revenue. Tier 3 would be 18 or 20%, right? And then tier 3 would be for some folks who do, like, we handle all of that. We also handle bookkeeping, invoicing, P&Ls, and then a few other things. Like we'll add in special once a quarter coordination, once a monthly meeting with the client to go over optimization, like those little services and things. Some co-hosts also do those type of approaches and then charging a higher percentage based off of that. But again, back to your question, between property managers and co-hosts, you're essentially doing the same service, but you're defining it a little bit differently because you are structured differently.
The other question I have is, can you do it from out of state? Because like when I think of a property manager, it's someone local. And really the big difference here is really with money changing hands. I think for a lot of people, it's hard for them to really grasp like, hey, can you manage other people's property from out of state?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Just the way you're able to manage your own property from out of state remotely, your cabins in Tennessee or in, let's say, the East Coast or in beach properties, but you're sitting here in California or somewhere else, as long as you have Wi-Fi and you've got, all your communications and OTAs out in your systems and processes, you absolutely can do it remotely.
And I know you got your first co-hosting client in Big Bear, and this was your third one. And I think a lot of people feel like they have to have so many properties or whatever it is and years in the business to be able to even talk to other people to co-host. Do you feel like people can be too new to co-host?
No, I know a couple of my own students personally, but also there's a lot of people out there who didn't start off with their own short-term rental. They just started right away with a co-host property. But a lot of that has to do with trust and networking, right? So a lot of that has to do with, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, that I know how to utilize dynamic pricing, revenue management, et cetera, et cetera. And I'll say that part of that has a lot to do with having a mentor, let's say like Alex, can help you navigate through all that. And so a lot of these folks have been able to secure clients as a co-host for their first short-term rental just by having some sort of trust in place. Let's say that they met them at a local real estate meetup and they began talking. They wanted to partner together. Let's say all the capital, and let's say that person they decide to buy a short-term rental. And I told them, like, why don't we partner? I will manage it for a fee. And so a lot of them started off that way. A lot of the others started from like friends or family, where maybe they have a vacation property and they decide to use you to help manage it because they see that you're posting on social media, or all you can do is talk about Airbnbs and short-term rentals. So that's another way that a lot of my clients, a lot of my students personally have been able to get some of their short-term rental hosting clients.
One last question before we get back in the presentation here. Like, how much did it cost for you to get started co-hosting?
Co-hosting, just adding them to my PMS channel, which was like $7 a month, right? And then Price Labs, which is like $6 or something like that. So $13. And then obviously the time spent to create the listing and whatnot. But personally myself, it didn't require a lot.
That's why I really co-hosting if you want to grow your business is if you're already doing it, like Vanessa already has an arbitrage unit and she already understands the system. She could easily co-host, and versus a lot of us who are putting $100,000, $150,000 to try to acquire a property. You don't necessarily need to do that. Like I was talking to Corey earlier today because we're looking at trying to get a property under contract, and there's 2 other short-term rentals that are for sale right now, right next door. He doesn't need to go in there and purchase all of them, but he can probably purchase one and show that he's operating it better than everyone else or performing at the top of the market. And then he can go over to those owners and say, hey, I'll manage this for you at a 20% fee. And in the end, you'll probably still make more money with a lot less headaches.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And it's funny that we got into that. So this is one of my clients here. They had this property since April that they started. And if you take a look, this was in 2023. Yeah, 2023, I believe. And so in April, they had launched in Joshua Tree, and they weren't making more than $2,500 a month gross per month here. And they were using Price Labs. They were using a PMS channel. They were using automated messages. They were using all the right sources and tools, but they were in deep trouble. And they had 2 other partners that partnered with them on this property, and they thought they would be making a lot more money. I do understand that in June, July, August are slow months in Joshua Tree because of the heat, but April and May are prime months out here, including October, okay, and September, really. And so there's no reason for them to be seeing these low numbers yet. So we took over in November. And our first month, when we took over, we hit 5,000. And then December, we hit close to 6,500. And then January, since that has been like this. So every month since then has been around 5,000 at the minimum, since we took over. And a lot of that, again, has to do with the way we work on our processes and systems. They had Price Labs, but they just weren't taking advantage of all the intricacies of using dynamic pricing. And they had more of a set and forget it kind of thing. These operators were also in the healthcare industry and they were busy. And so it was difficult for them to find the time to manage these. And they had multiple partners and everybody had different things that they wanted to do. So we told them, like, trust us, give us the listing, and we can take it from there. Here's another example. Beautiful property in Scottsdale, Arizona. These folks were live for about 7 months. Okay. Some months in May and July and September, they received no booking. They too were utilizing dynamic pricing, et cetera, et cetera. They had a gorgeous property. My company took over in January. January, February, and March are not peak seasons in Scottsdale. They're not, right? We made it work. In January, we hit over 10,000, our first month. February, close to almost 9,000. And every month since, we've been hitting on average between 8 to 10,000 a month.
Bensy, what do you think you did to make that big difference if they're using all of the same tools, so on and so forth?
A lot of it was what I find, like, they aren't taking the time to really study the market, study the numbers, study the changes in dynamic pricing. For example, this specific client here in Scottsdale, a lot of the properties nearby them were going for about, at the low end, 600, and at the high end, like 1,200 a night. Okay. And so they were like, okay, they were trying to hit around 800 a night. And I told them, at 800 a night, it's difficult to try to get something like that, especially in Scottsdale where you don't have a pool. So let's take advantage of other amenities that you guys do provide. And they have this amazing outdoor theater photo. You know what I did? I changed their cover photo. This used to be their cover photo here. I changed their cover photo to a different one. And it's been a big difference. Let me show you guys. This is the property here. We have 106 reviews, all 5 stars. I changed it to this cover photo here. I lowered their pricing to around 400 ADR, average daily rate. And they started getting bookings like crazy. This is a beautiful property, guys. Look at this. We have this very unique outdoor theater area. We have over a 30-foot saguaro tree out here. The inside is very well designed and set up. We have neighbors nearby that offer horseback riding. And we just took this amazing drone photo as well. And so this is a very beautiful property, but they were making no money. So what changed? The operator changed, and we came in. And that's one of the powers of co-hosting, because now they're in the green. Not only are they making money, you're making money as well. This is one example. Here's another smaller example in Joshua Tree. They were doing fairly well and wrapping up. Again, when we took over, we just started doing a lot better. And then we kept going from there. So a couple of things I do want to highlight when you're trying to build a successful co-hosting business is structuring your business. When I say structuring your business, I don't just mean having a business plan, but actually structuring a business so that it is financially and asset protection wise set up. We set up our own LLC. We set up different holding LLCs to hold that, and then having that as our active business, and then setting up our bankings and whatnot. Making sure that the flow of the money is also important here, our booking services, and then putting together, like I mentioned earlier, like different tiers approach that people may have. So what kind of service offerings and pricing do you want to showcase? Are you going to go out there? Are you going to take photos? Are you going to do marketing? What does that all look like? Focusing on client acquisition. This is extremely important. Client acquisition is key. When you do have a potential lead, a potential person who is interested in making you their co-host, being prepared to fully showcase your skills and your services is key. So what I mean by that is setting up a time with them, putting together a pitch deck, and showcasing how their property would do revenue-wise under your management, showcasing comps, all that stuff. Expectation and management, right? So it's all about managing expectations with any service. So showcasing to them what you offer, your 24/7 or guest communication, Monday through Sunday, handling cleaners, if that's something you're going to offer, handling maintenance folks, coordinating all that, tech stack and automation, showing them safety features, showing them things to ensure that these things are going to be automated, what tech stacks you're going to be utilizing in your business. Contracts are important, making sure you set up your contracts with each of your clients, depicting exactly what you'll be charging them and how you're going to be charging them, because they may be all for it, but then when they get the bill for your co-hosting fee, they're like, wait a minute, how does this come to this? So breaking that down in your contract is key and crucial, really. A lot of lessons learned there for me when I first started. Okay. So making sure that your contract is tight. Client communication, making sure you have constant client communication as needed. I wouldn't say constant. I'll just say continuous or recurring, maybe once a month or once a quarter, to ensure things are seamless and going the way they want to, checking in with them. A lot of the clients that we have now for our single family short-term rentals, there is not much communication because they're seeing the result, right? There may be things here and there that they may ask about, but other than our quarterly calls or maybe monthly calls, depending on our contract with them, we'll be doing that. Invoicing and billing, this is key and important as well. You have to make sure your books and billing and invoices are all set up and solid. because it's important to make sure that you are showcasing all of the profits and revenue that's flowing through and accounting for all of that. Like I mentioned, we spread out in 7 states now: California, Arizona, Texas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee. I don't know what else I'm missing there. These were the first 3 that I showed you. Here were the next 3. These 2 here, actually, I ended up partnering with other people on as well. West Virginia, Josh, she was a co-hosting client. And then we just kept going. So in our portfolio today, we have 74 short-term rentals. We have a 40-acre campground resort in Lake Bridgeport. We have 2 hotels that we're running, as well as a 550-acre ranch. And we have a lot of different unique stays, a lot of different properties: tiny cabins, big cabins, wagons, space vessels. If you don't know, if you saw it earlier, you name it. Camp QIB here is our 40-acre campground. This was what I call a commercial client. When we began our co-hosting business, we began taking single-family luxury short-term rentals as clients who own one property. But then now we began working with and partnering really with these commercial clients. This one is our 40-acre one. It's currently got 12 cabins. We're setting up another 18 accommodations, unique vessel ships, wagons. We have another 120 RV pads coming in. We have 5 to 7 restaurants on site. We have 2 venues. The ballroom fits 300 people, one that fits 100. We have a saloon, bar. We have our own boat ramp. We rent out ATVs, pontoon boats, all kinds of stuff like that. This is a big operation here, and my company has taken over this operation.
It's pretty impressive, man. People don't understand. This is 3.5 years or something like that. And you've wrapped up to over 70 managed properties. What does that look as a day-to-day thing? Because I'm sure a lot of people look at managing one short-term rental as a big headache. What do you got going on other than your tech stack?
I do have a team now, right? So we have about 3 full-time day-to-day operators. We also have a full-time bookkeeper and then 2 more part-time VAs that make up my team. So we have about 6 folks who work in my team now, but that took some time to build as well. I began with my first VA when I hit around 5 to 6 short-term rental properties. But that's how we're able to manage this behemoth of a portfolio, and it's growing, and it is a lot. I have a full-time job too, guys. A full-time W-2. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. I have a full-time W-2. I also have 2 young kids, so that was balancing work, balancing life, balancing family time, and balancing creating this business here. It is a lot, and I haven't even started on Moon River Ranch, which is our other one here. I'll show you some numbers there, which is a 550-acre ranch in Waco, Texas. And this one is a beauty because 330 acres of this is dedicated animal safari. Don't mind the ugly guy riding the Humvee here, but this is also an experience that we offer guests. I believe that we literally have the best Airbnb experience in the world in this property here. And so we have 27 accommodations, 2 hotels out here. We do weddings and corporate events. It's crazy. But yeah, a lot of work.
So one of the differences, because I see a lot of gurus out there that talk about co-hosting, and nothing wrong with it if they get 1, 2, 3 co-hosting. Some people I know have 10 co-hosting clients and they do extremely well, right?
Yeah.
You're probably one of the only ones that I've seen that talk about like corporate co-hosting.
I think I'm the only one out there that talks about that. Yeah. Because no one else has done something like that. Yeah.
Correct. Some people talk about buying property management companies, but you are co-hosting, which costs very little to zero money. You already have the systems in place. Like obviously you're hiring virtual assistants to help grow that team, but the possibilities of you to grow is exponential here, right? Because to get, like you said earlier, to get your first co-hosting client is the hardest one.
Yeah.
But you're talking about taking a 550-acre ranch, and that's like equivalent to you working to try to hustle to get 30, 40 clients or something like that.
Exactly.
And here, you're only dealing with one client.
That's right. That's right. So the revenue out of here is, once you get into these type of properties, you're also getting into managing and operating corporate events and weddings. 2 weeks ago, this happens every month. Like 2 weeks ago, we had a corporate booking, Tuesday through Thursday, corporate event here in the ranch. They booked it out, $50,000 for 2 nights.
What's your percentage profit that you take from co-hosting?
From co-hosting? So I have a specific percentage for each client, like each commercial client here. It is, so something like that. It's a percentage share.
You don't have to reveal if you don't want to share any of it.
I signed an NDA, so I can't say like my percentage share, but I'll tell you this. I have a contract with them, with my company, Getaway House, which manages the accommodation and stuff. I have a separate contract with them that does equity and profit share, like over.
Mm.
So when you're getting into these type of big clients, it's a different ballgame. It's not just, oh, here's a 20%, 25, 30% co-hosting fee. Now there's also three main sources of revenue here: your lodging, your corporate events and weddings and events essentially. And then we also have our activities upsells as well. So our company takes a certain revenue percentage from each of those. So let me just give you this idea. From a $50,000 booking for an event, just taking even 15% of that is huge. And that's
Right.
2 nights.
And
So let that
imagine if
steer
you're
with
doing imagine if you're doing that once a month. Some of us will spend $100,000, $150,000 to purchase a short-term rental that won't even do that much income.
Exactly.
Right. And here you are with a lot less risk on your side, which I know everyone talks about risk, but you don't technically own the property. If the economy goes sideways and these property values tank, which I don't think that's going to happen, you don't have that risk.
No.
Awesome, man. Pretty impressive.
It's fun stuff, man. It's been crazy. But again, I think with a lot of our same systems and information, I'm going to show you a little bit of this too. We had data. This is some data that we've been putting together. Moon River Ranch has been around for the past 3 or 4 years. I didn't officially take over. My company didn't officially take over this ranch until March this year. So March this year. And if you take a look at that, they barely had any bookings for their lodging from OTAs like Airbnb, and they were on all of them: Expedia, Booking.com, Airbnb, VRBO. And when we started, we just started ramping up. These are all the different properties here. These are like the numbers. You'll see also our channel sources here. You'll notice the majority of our properties are being booked through direct booking. When you see something like website and manual, that's all direct booking there. And then there's a certain percentage from Airbnb, Expedia, Booking.com, VRBO, Glamping Hub, etc. Yeah, because of our unique properties like this, we can do full send on our marketing as well, because this is such an amazing experience, an amazing place. So we've been getting, I would say, monthly, almost a consistent 70% of our occupancy is coming from direct booking.
That's even more money in your pocket versus.
That's even more money in our pocket. And I would say the same thing for Camp QIB. We've started in December of 2022. We've generated 253,000 already. And this is just lodging itself right here. And also for the ranch, just lodging itself, we've got about almost 200,000 also in lodging. Every month, I would say the revenue for the ranch is around 130 to 145,000 a month. And that includes all the weddings, activities, lodging. Even
Phenomenal,
10%
man.
of that is huge. Yep.
And then you don't even talk about the profit sharing thing, where if you were to sell down the road, you're getting a kickback on that. Love it.
Exactly. Yep. And we do a revenue share as well. Yeah. With the owner. Anyway, I think that's, and if you have any questions, stay connected.
Let's talk about this, because you did mention that you did some social media stuff, and I was with you doing some of this stuff, and some of it is silly and awkward. Talk to them about, were you comfortable doing this stuff, and was it worth doing? And I think a lot of people get lost. Should they even post about stuff like this? Because it can be like in poor taste talking about how much money you make with your side hustle, so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started, my Instagram was private, right? Just like the majority of us. And I had maybe a couple hundred followers from just like friends and family, college buddies and whatnot. But when I started posting about it, and again, that led me to my first co-hosting client from a friend, and then partnerships with other people who I met in college and I haven't spoken to in 9 years. And I find out that they're also real estate. They got like 11 properties in like the Midwest, and they want to dabble in the first short-term rental with me. So we ended up partnering up, and because we worked so well, we ended up partnering on 4 other short-term rentals together. It is difficult to put yourself out there, but I'd say just like with anything and everything, like it always starts out difficult at first, but once you get the idea and that mindset that like, hey, putting yourself out there will only help you, right? And your business, which provides more exposure and other people potentially to partner with you, or you to help them, right? You know, if it's changing your life and you're making money as well, there's ways for you to help other people. There's a lot of properties out there, a lot more things you can do out there. And part of that is why Alex does this and why I do this as well.
What was like one of your biggest mistakes starting the co-hosting business, and then even the corporate co-hosting?
I would say not putting down the process and systems down because we scaled so fast.
Hmm.
We went from 12 single family short-term rentals to 70 to 71 in our portfolio in 2.5 months.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes I
So
get one property and it's a pain in the ass.
it's a being that. So we went from 12 to 70. And that was crazy. And also my son was born that first month that we had started too. So it was not easy. So I would say getting my systems and processes in place first would have been very helpful rather than like building the plane and we're flying it at the same time kind of thing. That's definitely what we did. So I highly recommend for those of you who are looking to scale or looking to expand, start documenting your process, start putting that all together because you will need help doing that and you cannot do it all yourself. I do not want you to be working in the business. I want you to be working on the business, right? You probably hear that a lot for a lot of these business folks, but it's very true. I found myself working in the business a lot. I needed to step aside and work on the business.
Yeah, I always tell people like, even if you're getting your first one, act as if you're going to get 10 and
That's right.
start like putting that process in place. I'm still working. We all make mistakes and that's okay. We're going to learn from it. But if you go in it with the mindset that I need to hire eventually to take myself out of the business, we just hired another virtual assistant. And everything that we're doing, our mindset is how do we get it to a point where we are offloading the work onto them? Talk about your virtual assistant team. How many do you have? What does it look like as far as, because this is a lot of properties. Are you constantly talking with them, texting them back and forth, or are you almost hands off where they can just handle all of the business?
I'm hands off now. They can handle all the day-to-day operations and business and everything. I'm definitely hands off. I now focus more on acquisitions. So just getting more clients. But even that I paused on because there's a lot of things happening right now and in our personal life right now. But at the moment, yeah, I'm just focused on acquisitions and my team is handling all the day-to-day operations. So my team right now, we have, again, like I mentioned earlier, we have about 6 VAs. We have a full-time bookkeeper that does all our books, does all my owner statements monthly, our billing, our bookkeeping. That has been a game changer. Like hiring our own bookkeeper has been a game changer. Alex, there's a lot that we can talk about bookkeeping. You and I know that already. But anyway, and then I also have 3 full-time VAs and I have a operations manager, right? So my operations manager was my first VA that sat with me and gone through the struggle. Okay. And I trained her month after month for, I would say 6 to like almost 9 months. I would say 6 months where she was side by side with me and managing the properties together with me, going through all the headaches, all the different things, coordinating all the cleaners and maintenance and folks. So after training her, she was able to take it on. Right. And then I hired her. And then afterwards, she actually hired out the rest of my team. She went out there and hired more people, interviewed them. They go through a first round interview with her. If she likes them, they go through a second round interview with me and her. Right. And then we go from there. She trains them now as well. So she manages them, she trains them, and they do a lot of the day-to-day, all the day-to-day operations now. So if we need to replace the bed, if we need to work with our clients, we also have account managers. So each of my clients get their own account manager, which is really just either my operations manager or another VA. And they are the ones communicating as well with the client, like with the owners. Obviously, I'm still like somebody that they can reach to and somebody that they can converse with, but they do a lot of that. And they're very well familiar with my operations manager and their account executive clients. And go from there. Yeah.
So your superpower is acquisitions. Once you acquire co-hosts, you just hand it off to them and they know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think we're going through this too. Like whenever you hire a VA, it's a pain in the ass initially because you're trying to give, like a lot of times we're like, oh, I'll just do the work on my phone because it's going to take me 5 seconds versus, oh my God, I got to take 10 minutes to try to teach this person how to do it. But the thing is, if you focus in on how teaching someone else to do it, over time, you're able to scale, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Now they teach and train other people.
Right.
Exactly. And of course, I've recorded a bunch of these Loom videos and I've had my first VA. She created all my SOPs. I created the Loom video. She created the SOP. And so like we have all these SOPs now, processes, systems, videos now that she can use and that the people that she trains can use as well.
Vanessa has a question here. How do you get cleaners and maintenance from out of state if you are not familiar with the area?
Great question, Vanessa. I would say a lot of it has been through different networks, right? Finding those boots on the ground. we've been successful at utilizing like local. Every market out there has a Facebook group. Okay. And so I encourage you guys to go join that, and you can find cleaners that way. If there isn't a local Facebook market for that short-term rental market, there's always Bigger Pockets, forums. There's also Yelp. I've actually been able to get a lot of maintenance folks from Yelp as well. And that has been pretty well. Connecting with other short-term rental hosts in that market is also key. And trying to see if they can recommend a contact, cleaner, handyman, maintenance company, or construction company. And one needs to know. Once you secure a cleaner, the cleaners typically have contacts everywhere. So that's another thing as well. But you can probably just start off also with your short-term rental agent when you buy that property, like asking them, hey, do they know any cleaners or maintenance folks that they can recommend? That's one way to start as well.
Hey, Vinci, we're out on the hour here. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you got two little ones there. How can people get a hold of you?
You can hold of me on Instagram. Really, my handle is @Vinci_Sevilla_Junior. You can also just scan this QR code and go from there. Follow me on Instagram, and yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for this week. I'll have the replay up on the Facebook group. Vinci, I'll send you a YouTube video, and then you can share it if you want. Really inspiring story, how you could scale really fast. You got to be good at systems, though. You got to be good at systems. Let's brush that up. And then you could scale with very little to no money. Just as long as you're willing to put in the hustle and the work, you could probably make some money on your end, and you could make your clients a little bit more money as well, as we've shown here. With that said, we are done for this week. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your night.